What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle and welcome back to the game department. Today we are back at the Bathurst Challenge with a brand new contender. Thank you very much to Matt for the suggestion. This is the Volkswagen Beetle, and here she is, the absolute speed demon of a car, the Volkswagen Beetle. Now this is a 1970s Volkswagen Beetle and it looks amazing. I love the way that these cars look. I would never drive one because I'm 6'6" and trying to fit into one of those would not be a fun time. But they look sick. So let's jump in the car, see how it handles parts of Bathurst before we jump into our hot laps, and see what we can get out of this absolute weapon. Alrighty, here we go. Off to a great start. It looks so cool on the inside. I love the fact that it's got the older gauge and the older steering wheel. Obviously, being a car from the 70s, we would expect that. But it looks really cool. It doesn't go very quickly, so I don't imagine this is going to turn very well. Let's drive down a second, see how it takes this first 90-degree turn. Slowly, very slowly, not that big of a deal. Let's get up to third and see how fast we can get before the first turn here. This is going to be a very interesting car to drive. I don't know how well this is going to go, like I do with all the cars that we drive on this series, but I kind of have high hopes for this. All I want for this car is to beat the Reliant Robin. Alright, let's get down to third, slow down, hug it nice and tight. Not that we really need to because we're not really going that fast, but we're in third gear at 75 kilometers an hour. It's already got faster acceleration than the Robin does, and it's a lot more stable. I think that has something to do with having 4 wheels instead of the 3. But who's to know? Who's to know? Not me. Okay, we're about to pass underneath the Assetto Corsa sign. We've just hit 100 kilometers an hour in 4th gear. 107, 108. I don't think we're going to get much faster. It's going to come down to the last straight. Alright, let's try and take this first long right, drop it down to third, keep it pinned, take it nice and wide. There we go. It felt a lot better than the Reliant Robin, obviously because, as I said, this one has 4 wheels, so it definitely feels a lot more stable throughout the corners. Let's see how it handles this left-hand turn up here, and we'll do a bit of the top section. We may even do the dipper before we start jumping into our laps. Let's drop down a second. It definitely handles the turns a hell of a lot better, and I think that's come to be expected over the Robin. Let's see if we can get it up to the top, see how fast we can get in that top section before we start doing the S's and the dipper, and just see how it handles these tighter turns with the change in elevation. Still pinned in third gear, it struggles to get up the mountain. Obviously, being such a small engine in this car, I don't imagine it getting a hell of a lot of top speed, but it is already doing a much better job. I don't know what the weight difference is in the Robin compared to the Volkswagen Beetle, but it's doing pretty well so far. It's doing pretty well so far. I'm going to have an early expectation. I'm going to say that we might be able to get this car down to a 3.5 second lap. There are no guarantees here, but a 3.5 second lap would be quite a nice way to end with this car. All right, let's drop down. We're at 120 Ks in that top second. Drop down to third. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, saved it. Well, I can't say that I expected to have any downforce in that area, so I don't know why I went so quick. Maybe I'm just excited to whip this car around. Already in this section, I can tell that I'm going to be able to maintain a hell of a lot more speed through the corners, and that really is where you make up a lot of pace in this track. We're doing 110 right now in this little section. Oh, God. Let's drop down to third. Try and hold it. Okay. Maybe we don't need to go that fast, but it's already looking to absolutely smash the Reliant Robin. So I'm going to jump in, I'm going to get these 10 laps done. I'll come back with the fastest lap, and let's just see what this bad boy can do. Alrighty, here we go. Fastest lap in the 1970s Volkswagen Beetle. Now, I can just say now, I love the way that this car drives. Obviously, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but I can 100% imagine myself using this car in an open world scenario and just enjoying the views and cruising around very leisurely. But anyway, we're not here to cruise, we're here to beat land speed records. Now we're going to drop it down into third gear and hold this left-hand turn here while we try and make it as wide as we can to maintain as much speed as we can. So at the moment we're in third gear. We've only got a 4-speed gearbox to work with here, but there's no point in us changing to 4th gear before we go underneath this Assetto Corsa banner. The reason of the incline is slowing the car so much that as soon as we go underneath that banner, the road starts to dip down again, which means we can try and use as much momentum from the car as we can to get it into 4th gear and actually make that 4th gear usable, because otherwise it will not be used. So underneath the banner now, shifting up into 4th, Then we're going to hold it as much as we can leading up into this right-hand turn before we start going up the mountain and putting this car through its paces in the most intense hill climb it's ever going to deal with. So we've just passed the 100 meter board, holding to the right-hand side here. You want to try and use that camber again and make sure the car sits in that little seated area. Into third gear to try and get as much speed, really not having to fight the car too much because there is not that much speed behind it. Holding the right-hand side here now, trying to get the car to keep some momentum is really hard with something this small, this light, and this slow to keep as much momentum as we can, but it's doing its fair job. Into second gear, holding the left-hand side here, trying to keep the left line, and again, trying to get as much power into the corners as much as we can on the exit to try and keep any momentum that this car is going to get going up the mountain. Holding into third gear now, into the left-hand side. Again, not really having to fight any of the corners because the speeds we're doing is not really going to throw us into any walls, but you want to try and use the steering wheel as minimally as possible. The less you move the front wheels, the less speed you scrub off. So we're going up to fourth gear now as soon as we start this decline and trying to use the momentum naturally from the car to get as much speed as we can. Not really having to use the brakes or lift off the throttle in any way to make sure we get these car around these turns because again, we're not pushing many speed limits. It's all about trying to keep the car clean and keep it neat without losing any speed at all. In fourth gear now, trying to take it as wide as we can without getting any loss of traction. Underneath the Bentley sign now, we're going to start slowing down to make our decline down through the S's and into the dipper. So we're going to drop down into third and use the engine to slow the car. I found it really hard to not lock the brakes and send the car off into a wall at every opportunity that it had. Into second gear, holding the left-hand side around the dipper, and again, straight on the throttle as fast as we can to get as much speed as we can leading into the forest elbow. So fourth gear now, holding hard to the left and then hard into this right before we start slowing down and dropping from third and then third to second to hold this left-hand line here in forest elbow, trying to really get it fast as we can. And we can see the back of the car just whipping out there just a little bit. It's really, really easy to lose the rear of this car in some of these declining areas because there's just no traction and no aero for this car at these speeds. Now we're going to go underneath this Bentley side and change over to have a bit of a look at what this car looks like on the track. And I have to say, there is something about the lines on a 1970s Volkswagen Beetle that just looks so good on any track. Obviously, it's not a fast car and it's not a very aggressive looking car, but there is something about it. I think it's just me living my Herbie fully loaded fantasies, but it does look like such a wicked car. Now we're coming up to the speed trap here, seeing how fast we can actually get this Beetle before we have to slowing down for the chase. And we've just hit a 146, which is definitely faster than the Robin and not breaking any limits. And we're going to start slowing down for the chase here, down into second gear and holding this left-hand turn to take it as wide as we can. Again, it's all about keeping as much momentum as we can. Up into third gear, really keeping it right and trying to not to use that steering wheel as much as we can to keep as much speed as we probably can. Underneath the Liquid Molly sign now, going into fourth gear, we're going to go to the last corner here and try and take it as wide as we can to keep that speed to the finish line. Dropping down into third gear, foot on the brake slightly, and we're going to go as hard as we can to the left, take it as wide as we can without going onto the grass and losing any speed. Foot flat to the floor, crossing the line. We hit a 4:05.153. Not a bad time for the Volkswagen Beetle. It could have been faster, but it 100% could have been slower. Okay, I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. I genuinely thought that I could get that Beetle to do a 3-minute 30 lap, but the best lap that I could squeeze out of this car while maintaining control was a 4:05.153, which is not the worst lap in the world. It still beats the Robin, but I thought it was going to win by at least half a second. At least! But to come in about 6 seconds below the Robin, I'm very surprised by that. Not only do the corners feel faster because obviously the car's more planted, but the overall feel of the car just, it makes you feel like you did a faster lap. But apparently not. So with the Beetle setting a 4:05, this is where it's going to sit on the leaderboard. So just in front of the Robin by about 6 seconds, but still very far away from the top 3 cars so far at the top of the pack. I do think though, if we keep adding some of the older, slower street cars, this bottom field is going to start to get really, really competitive. And I can't wait to see what other suggestions you guys have to fill those spaces. So if you do have a suggestion for a car, don't forget to leave me a comment below. If I can find a mod for it, we'll do it. It's as simple as that. If you like this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe. I post videos every week, and you don't want to miss them. If you want to join us on any of our social media or our Discord server, I will leave all of that information in the description. Come check it out. Let us know you found this video, and let me know what you think. If you are into the racing or the driving sims, or you just want to come and hang out, we stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at twitch.tv/The Game Department. Streams start at 4:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I would love to see you there. Other than that, I'm going to leave you guys to it. I hope you had a good morning. I hope you have a good night. Bye.